Hello and welcome to the Stitched By podcast, the podcast that focuses on the crafters, creators, and pattern makers within the sewing, knitting, and crochet communities. In each episode, you will hear from someone you know and love, or someone new. I'm your host, Ari at Stitched by Ari, and today's guest is Candice at Sew Bake Make. Candice is a former lawyer turned sewing content creator and pattern designer based in Ontario, Canada. She discovered her love for sewing during her first maternity leave, initially buying a sewing machine to make baby items for her son. A friend from her prenatal class introduced her to garment sewing, and she was instantly hooked. In 2021, Candice co-founded Staystitch Pattern Co with her friend Lindsey, and she also releases her own patterns under the brand at Sew Bake Make. She's especially passionate about upcycling, giving new life to old textiles by transforming them into fresh, wearable garments. When she's not in her sewing studio, Candice enjoys embracing motherhood, spending time outdoors, and perfecting her sourdough baking skills. Candice, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It's cool because we've been following each other for so long, but this is
I
like the
know.
first
I
time.
feel like since the very beginning.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see how far you've come since then, which I want to get into. So you went from being a full-time lawyer to a full-time content creator and pattern maker. Hearing
Yeah.
that is both inspiring and intriguing because it's such like a difference in career.
Mhm.
What was the tipping point for you to decide to switch careers?
So I think that a lot of people, for them, a lot of people that do this, that have like a full-time job and do something on the side, they kind of reach like a tipping point where, they're making really good money and decide that, they want to follow their passion in that. And that wasn't exactly the case for me. It was kind of like a bunch of factors, but I was on my second mat leave and I took 18 months because we have a lot of mat leave in Canada.
Mhm.
Um, and during that time, there was like a bunch of life changes that happened. My husband got a transfer for work and we moved across the country, and it just kind of happened that I, had to quit my job anyways, and could take a year to kind of like see how things went.
Mhm.
So that's basically what I did. I didn't really like know for sure that it was going to go well or anything like that. Like I hadn't been, making so much money that I was like, oh, I'm going to quit my job. It was more that like I worked so long doing what I did and I wasn't totally happy doing that.
Mhm.
And it just seemed like it was something that I could do. And I wanted to give myself a year to try it out because I felt like I would regret it if I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's cool that you were like, I want to do this. I'm going to give myself the time and that you went for it because that's hard to do. That's hard to commit to.
Yeah, it really was. Like I thought about it for a long time, and it's like one of those things where like I had been doing content creation sort of. Like not anything huge. Like I wasn't being paid a lot of money to make videos or anything like that, but I'd been on Instagram and doing social media for a number of years. Um and yeah, I don't know. I just really have always felt like a very creative person, and I've always felt very trapped by the career that I chose.
Hmm.
Um, I've I've actually like tried to, you know, follow different paths a few times, not for sewing like other things, and it just felt like too big of a risk before, and I you know the stars aligned so that I could take the time to do it. So I thought, you're never gonna regret trying, but you will regret not trying. So,
Right. Did
yeah.
you ever feel at any point during that year of like, I'm going to give myself this year to try this thing? Were you ever like scared or nervous or thought, maybe this was a mistake. I shouldn't have left my
Oh
full-time
yeah,
career?
like every day. And like still today, like I often, question if I did make the right decision just because it's a scary thing giving up like a stable job with a salary and benefits. And, it's also something that I spent a lot of time working towards. And it felt very scary to, I guess, give it up. But I guess I didn't really give it up. Like I could go back, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, it was a very big and difficult decision.
Yeah, totally. But you've been doing this now for what, 4 years or?
I mean, as a job, only about a year, but yeah,
Oh,
social
okay.
media for, yeah, I started posting in 2019, 2020, I think, but that was just like for fun at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned in your bio that 2021 was the year you co-founded Staystitch Pattern Co. with your friend Lindsey at Stitch
Mhm.
Fits. I remember being part of like testers groups and, a part of the whole beginning of your pattern company. It's really
Mhm.
cool to see how far you've both come since then. What was it like starting a company with a new friend, and how did that all come about?
Well, we had been just like chatting on Instagram. Just she sent me a DM one day and we just became friends really quickly. And we were both kind of starting garment sewing, I think, around the same time. So it was really nice to have like a sewing friend that we could like bounce ideas off of or like ask for help. And we just one day were chatting and we're like, oh, we should like make patterns ourselves. And then we just decided to do it. And I've been really lucky. Like Lindsay is amazing. She's so kind and like
Mm-hmm.
very easygoing. And I think I am too. I feel like I am.
Yeah.
So we both, I think we work really well together because of that. And we are really like receptive to each other's, you know, thoughts and opinions and whatever else. So it's been very easy to work with her. And it's actually been really nice. Like we didn't know that much about pattern making when we started. And it was nice to have someone to share the work with and to, kind of both be accountable for it because it was so new. But yeah, it's kind of like taken a bit of a back seat recently because we've both been a little bit more busy with other things, but we do plan on doing more patterns, maybe like accessories. That's kind of what we're thinking. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome. Do you think that starting a company with her played a role in like you deciding to like go with this full time?
Yeah, definitely. Because I didn't know if you could actually make money with patterns before that. Like, I had no idea what the numbers were kind of like. And not that we've done like exceptionally well. I think there's some pattern makers out there that make insane amounts of money, and that's not
Mhm.
us or me. And I wish it was, but it's not as easy as it seems.
Mhm.
But it did show me that like you can make money through patterns, and like it is, you know, like that's something that I'd like to pursue this year. Actually, I want to do more patterns. But yeah, I forget the original question now.
No, it's okay. I was just wondering if it played a role in you deciding to take pattern making and content creation full time, starting a company with Lindsay.
Like yeah. I think just for those reasons, like
Mm.
it did seem like it was like a viable option to do this as a job after
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. Hmm.
Makes total sense. So you also mentioned that you make your own patterns under your own handle or brand, so Big Make.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't realize the amount of work that goes into producing a pattern.
No.
I think that some people think it's like this easy, like, oh, you just do some images and some notes and it's easy
Yeah,
and going.
no, it is so much. It is like the patterns are the most time consuming thing that I do, like
Hmm.
hands down. And I should send you a copy of my new one, but I really, really tried hard to like put in every single thing that I could that would help a new or like even an intermediate sewist. And I think that people, one, like expect that from indie patterns because it's just something that a lot of indie pattern makers do, which I think is amazing. But it's also something that I want to do because I want everyone to learn how to sew. Like I'm so excited about sewing. I love sewing. And I think that if you start off with patterns that are really difficult and don't have enough information, it can kind of be off-putting and you might not want to keep going. And I really appreciated the patterns that were well written and had a lot of that kind of information. So that's kind of what I strive for, like with my patterns and my content. Like I want to put out what I would have appreciated as a new sewist, and that's kind of like my goal when I make content and patterns.
I totally feel you there. That's the same goal that I have when I'm creating things as well.
Mhm.
So speaking of social media, you seem to have caught your stride when it comes to social media content. Currently, you're sitting at 580,000 followers on Instagram alone. Did you ever expect to grow such a following?
No,
No.
like absolutely not. Like I started my page just to like post pictures of my stuff and like make some sewing friends, and like I never ever like planned for it to be a job or like anything like that. I mean, I don't want to get to like, you know, say like I didn't want to or like I didn't work towards that, but that's not how it started for sure.
Mhm. How would you say it started? I mean, you said that you started posting in like 2019, 2020, around then, which I think a lot of sewists in the community right now, that's kind of when
Yeah.
things started for them. Yeah, how did that start for you? And when was the point where you realized, oh, this could be something that I like make money from? This could be a job for me.
Well, yeah, it honestly just started as a way for me to share like my makes and that kind of thing. I think um I started to think about it when I guess companies started to reach out to me to like first, you get free fabric and like stuff like that. And I
Hmm.
thought that was really cool because it's fun to get free stuff. But then I did start to get some paid things and, you know, that was also cool. And I think that that's kind of what is, um, I don't know the right way to say it, but like that's what entices a lot of people, not just sewing people, but people in general to try and be influencers, I guess, is like that you can do this thing that you really enjoy and
Hmm.
get free stuff and get paid for it. And I think that that's really cool. And I also think that there's like a flip side to that, that people really don't like that and like kind of look down on people that are like quote unquote influencers. I actually hate the word influencer because I am not trying to like be out there to like sell people a lot of things, and like I actually like don't take a lot of collaborations because I don't want to be in people's faces being like you need to buy this and this and this. Um but yeah, that's basically when I just started thinking about it, was when I was offered actual like money to make videos.
Right. Yeah. Um, you also mentioned that when it comes to your social media, like you want to help people learn and you want to offer what you didn't see when you first started out.
Mhm.
Is that like your main approach to social media content? And do you feel like that helps with your growth, like focusing on like teaching?
Yeah, I guess I don't really know exactly um, why I started doing so many tutorials, but I guess like I kind of have like an affinity towards them, and like I like making that kind of content. And it always performs pretty well. So then then I end up posting more of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But I also that's been something I've been kind of thinking about lately, is like I sort of feel like a fraud sometimes because I'm not like I didn't go to fashion school. I didn't
Mhm.
take any sort of like formal sewing training. Like recently, I've done pattern making courses. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm not qualified to be teaching people stuff.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's one thing, but it does those kind of videos always do well for me, and I think that um, that is one of my strengths, is like being able to make more complicated things like easier and digestible in short format
Right.
content.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you said you feel like a fraud sometimes
Yeah.
with creating, which is interesting given that you've, accumulated such a large following. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like where these feelings of fraud, like feeling like a fraud come from?
I think part of it's just, general like imposter syndrome. Like a lot of times I know you want to touch on this later, but like I didn't plan on, any of this stuff. And I just sometimes I'm just like, why do people follow me? Like it doesn't really make sense to me sometimes. And like a big part of that is like the sewing stuff, just feeling like I'm not qualified. And then I guess like a small part of that is like whenever you have a video go viral, you get the trolls. And
Yes.
often in content that is like tutorial based sewing stuff, the I feel bad calling them trolls, but like people that have very strong opinions about how something should be sewn they'll tell you, oh, I've been a tailor for 30 years and like, this is not how you do it. And like that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't like
Mm.
be trying to teach people, but I guess a combination of those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always find that interesting, like when people say like this isn't the right way to sew it. But like wasn't that way that is considered the right way also made up? Like we've
Yeah,
decided that's the right way.
that's true. And I feel like there's always ways to make things better in sewing and in life, right? Like
Hmm.
that's innovation. And if you are closed off to innovation, you're never going to improve on things. And I think that, especially sewing, it's such a creative thing and it's such a creative process. Like there are many ways to do one thing. And if your way works for you, I think that's amazing. And like, you don't have to do things a certain way just because that's how they've always been done.
I agree. Yeah, I like that you said that innovation because I think if we focus on this is like the right way to do it, but that doesn't work for your brain or for your hands or whatever it
Yeah.
is, then that's kind of like a barrier. And people feel like, oh, because I can't do it the right way, I shouldn't even do it at
Yeah,
all.
no. And like where it's not brain surgery. Like you're not,
Right.
no one's gonna die because you sewed your seam a little differently than someone else. So
Right. Exactly. Yes. It's like, if you can do it this way and it works for you and it still looks good,
yeah,
then who cares?
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. So your Instagram handle is sew bake make, and for those who follow you, they will know that you actually sew, bake, and make. And recently, you decided that you wanted to fold baking into your sewing more, which I thought was really cool. That you're like, hey, I want to figure out a way to like actually bring this back into my process.
Mhm.
I noticed that you decided you were going to, use baking names or these sorts of things for your
Yeah.
pattern names.
Mhm.
Firstly, how did you decide on the So Bake Make name? And did you ever want to change it?
So I am terrible with coming up with like names for things and handles and stuff like that. And it was just like those I've always liked making things and baking things, and this was a sewing account, so it's just like I tried to come up with something that was like, kind of catchy and easy to say. So that's what it ended up being. And baking was like a very big hobby of mine before. I don't really bake as much anymore. Um, Actually, that's one of the things that like I contemplated leaving law for was like opening
Mm-hmm.
like a baking side hustle. I did a little bit of that when I was like in my early 20s. But yeah, that's how I came up with it. It was very like very little thought went into that handle. Um, but I actually did think seriously about changing it like maybe a year or two ago when I started kind of getting more followers and gaining more traction because I was like, I don't really bake. And I was like, I don't know if
Mm.
that's like misleading or, it doesn't really fit with my content. But I ended up keeping it just because I don't know, it's kind of like become part of me now. And I've used it so much that it felt weird to change it. And I also couldn't think of anything great to change it to.
Mhm. Okay. So you've been baking longer than you've been sewing?
Yeah, I guess like
Okay.
I've been baking probably since like high school and
Okay, wow.
um yeah, I used to do a lot of baking, but not so much anymore.
Okay. But then I noticed recently you're baking what was it, sourdough, and like you made some cinnamon rolls the other day.
Yeah, like I do make a lot of bread these days. I used to make like cookies and cakes and like decorate with fondant and stuff like that. But I don't do any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so as a full-time pattern maker, content creator, and mom of two, firstly, it's amazing that you actually are able to do all of those things at the same time. I'm so curious how you manage to do that. How do you manage to do that, number one, and how do you avoid or manage burnout?
I actually think that I'm just very bad at doing them all. Like I constantly feel like I'm not giving enough in all aspects of my life. Like I say to my husband like all the time, I'm like, I just need more hours in the day. Like I can't do everything. And like I think it's it's especially hard doing this now because I'm in my home, like I work from home, and I have like no real separation from like home life, mom life, work life. So I find it hard. So like I think this is also part of like my like I shouldn't say I have ADHD, but I think I may. But like I I think I need to kind of figure out some better systems of like how to really effectively plan my day because I
Mm.
end up starting a million things every day and I don't finish a lot of them because I'm like, oh, I'm going to sew this. Oh, but I need to like put the laundry in or I need to like start making dinner for the kids. Like it's like a very difficult, constant juggling act. And there's a lot of things that I wish I could have time to do and I just can't. So
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm doing everything like sort of okay. And I wish I had more time, but
Right.
yeah,
That's
there's no,
interesting. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
Right.
Sorry.
I just feel like there's no such thing as like doing it all because I think that was
Mm.
like a thing that a lot of people said, like, the girl boss era, like a little while ago. You could be a mom, you can have a career, you can do everything. I
Yes.
think it's very difficult to do that. So,
It is. There's only 24 hours in the day, unfortunately, and we
yeah.
have to sleep, unfortunately. That's the thing about social media is it seems like from an outside perspective, oh, that person posts a lot. Oh, that person seems to be doing so much. Oh, that person has their life together.
Mm,
But social media is kind of a slight, I don't know if I want to call it a lie, but social media is like, again, people are putting their best foot forward. And so you
yeah,
don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
for sure.
Um, do you ever feel like people maybe expect more from you or that you feel like because of your following that you have to give more? How do you manage or think about those things?
Um, I think that because I now do it for work, I feel the pressure to make things constantly and have content to put out there. And I think that's one of the hardest things about doing content now is that I can't make all the things that I want to make per se. Like a lot of my content I plan based on what I think other people will like, which is kind of hard because sewing
Mm.
was like my hobby and my passion before this. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't or may not think about. Like I've been wanting to cut out the Co trousers by Daughter Judy forever. And like
Hmm.
I haven't been able to find the time because I'm like working on this thing or this pattern or this video. So but yeah, I definitely do feel a pressure to like have something to post every week. And I also think that like I've cut back a lot. Like I used to post even more, but I find that I burn out if I do that and I just can't I can't maintain like posting multiple times a week. Like it's a lot. Like I'll go through phases where I might because I'm like feeling really creative or I like make a bunch of things and I film them and I have that, but I think it's very unsustainable to try to do that, especially with sewing because it's so time consuming. Like I don't
It
have
is.
time to make those things and film them and edit them and post them.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how social media has kind of changed our hobbies or our art or whatever it is? Like you have to like go through the step of, oh, I really want to make that thing. You're like, oh, well, I have to film it and I have to edit it and I have to post it. And if I don't, are people going to like it or is it going to get enough likes or
Yeah,
follows or whatever it is?
I know. Yeah, I think that's the kind of like con or like the negative side of doing it for work, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so you touched on something that I think is really interesting because there seems to be like this common thread of people quitting their full time jobs to take on pattern making and content creation full time. But I don't think enough people consider what that really realistically looks like and is.
Yeah.
How would you say realistically that experience has been for you? And is it less glamorized than it looks? Is it more glamorized than it looks? Yeah, how would you talk about that?
Um, yeah, I think that not just in the sewing world, I see it in other like sectors and niches. Like it's very glamorized to be like, I quit my job, I'm following my passion. And like I think that it's great for some people. Like, I am very happy doing this, although I wouldn't say it's like it's been easy because I find that, you know, I guess it depends on the person, but like stability is huge. And not having that anymore is very scary.
Hmm.
And it's something that I worry about like every day. Like, I don't know where my next paycheck's going to come from. And
Right.
um, I think that a lot of creators make it seem really easy. Like, if you do this, you can make this amount of money, or like, you know, making patterns, you can make this much. Like it, there, I think that, like, even for me, like, I have a large platform. Like, I just released a pattern and it sold well, but like not that well. Like,
Mm,
not as well as what I think is being sold to people.
right.
Like, I definitely am not at the point where patterns could be my only source of income. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, I think it's hard. And I think even when you do have a big platform and you can get a lot of views on your videos because of that, it still doesn't directly translate to sales.
right.
So
Yeah, I think that people think, oh, big Instagram following, lots of money.
yeah, no, it's not like that. I think
Right.
that there are creators that are making a lot of money, but I am not one of those ones yet. Maybe one day. That'd be nice.
Yeah, one day. Speaking of one day, um, what are your aspirations, I guess? Because a lot of people aspire to build a following like yours, or to create the kind of content that you do. I'm sure a lot of people find it really inspiring. I do. So, now that you've already gotten to this place, what would you say the next goal is for you?
I would like to grow my YouTube channel. I really like
Mm,
YouTube and I like long form. I like watching it. I like making it, but it is very time consuming. Like, I taught myself, or, not, I think self-taught sometimes is the wrong word, but like, I learned how to use Premiere Pro by myself, like watching YouTube tutorials. And Adobe programs are really not user friendly, I find. It's a very steep
hmm.
learning curve. So even now, still, like, it takes me a long time to edit a video, but that's kind of what I would like to do this year. It's
Mm.
just the time thing. Like, it's a lot of time to film a video and then edit it. Like, it takes me minimum like 8 to 10 hours to edit one, probably
Yeah.
more than that. Um, but yeah, I would really love to grow YouTube, and I mean Instagram and TikTok too. Like, I don't really have any like specific goals, but I just want to
Mm.
keep being able to do what I'm doing if
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
people can find you on YouTube at So Big Make as well. It's the same handle.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool. So, how do you keep creativity part of your everyday? Like, this is your job, and you mentioned that you want to sew for yourself. You want to make like the coat trousers from Daughter Judy. But this is your job first and foremost, so you have to kind of think about it in that way. Where do you pull, like, how do you pull on that creative string?
Um, I find like just sewing something without filming it is very helpful for that. I find like just making something with no pressure on myself. Um, that I feel like that's helpful. I do like I do look for inspiration a lot. Like, go on Pinterest a lot, or like scroll social media for ideas and that sort of thing. But I feel like I just kind of lean into it when I do feel creative, and then when I don't, I just let it be. Even though it's kind of stressful for me because that means I'm like not creating anything or creating content.
Mhm.
But as I said like before, I know that I'll burn out if I just try to force myself to do stuff. So I have been trying to just like relax in the evenings, because I used to try and sew once my kids went to sleep, but they're going to bed a lot later these days. And I just can't sew at night anymore. I will just like hang out with my husband, watch movies, and like just take it easy. Because it's just like, if I do that, it's all day, every day, right? Like, get up, do that, deal with kids, and then do more sewing is just unsustainable.
Yes. No, that's great that you find a time for rest. I think that people forget that that's super important.
Mhm.
I've noticed even in my own spaces of rest that when I come back like reinvigorated. I feel like I can like manage things better. I feel like
Mhm.
I've improved in taking my rest period.
For sure.
So yeah, I think that's super important. So you mentioned that you'll go on Pinterest to like find inspiration for things. How do you come to inspiration for your patterns, or how do you think about what pattern you want to put out into the world?
A lot of times it's really just like I'll see a garment that I really like certain details of, and then that's basically it. Other times it's like like the one that I want to work on next is a very like beginner friendly, basic, like elastic waist wide leg pant, which I've actually been like going back and forth on because there's so many of those patterns out there right now. So I don't know if people would even be interested in one, but there are some details that I want to add to it that I think would make it special. And I also really want to put one out that has like a lot of options. I really like giving people a lot of options and like hack ideas and lots of views and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that it will do well, but I think I'd like to do like a couple more beginner friendly ones this year. And I'm also realizing lately that like as much as I love our stay stitch patterns, they're just not ones that I wear a
Mm-hmm.
lot because they're like a little bit fancier or like a little bit more like the bodycon dresses and stuff like that. Like I'm not going to wear that every day. So I wanted to
Right.
focus the next ones on more like easy wearing like casual pieces and also very
Right.
like beginner friendly as well because I think a large portion of my following is like very new to sewing.
Mm.
So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if you're, putting out tutorials, it makes sense that like new people that are, interested in the hobby would be the ones following you.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about imposter syndrome and just like all that comes with that. You touched a little bit on like how you, what the experience has been like with that, but how do you manage that with like having to create content because it is your job?
I think like I don't know if I necessarily manage it. I just kind of
Okay.
try and forget about it because I mean like
Mm.
I don't really know what else I could do. I try not to watch my old YouTube videos because they're so
Okay.
cringy. Or like early Instagram reels and stuff like that. Like I see a lot of stuff out there right now that's like, you have to embrace the cringe, which it's really true. You
Mm.
really do. And like I am a huge introvert and it's so strange that like now this is what I do. Like I make videos of myself because I I was so shy as a kid growing up and like
Mm.
I still am super awkward and like I hate big social gatherings where I don't know a lot of people. But I think that's also why social media works for a lot of introverted people is because like you're not
Mm.
actually talking to anyone.
Right.
You're talking to your camera and then it goes out to the world.
Yeah. Isn't that so odd? Sometimes when I'm just like actively, consciously thinking about what I'm doing, I'm like, I'm literally talking to my phone in a room by myself. This is really odd.
Yeah, it is really weird. Yeah.
So, with it being your full-time job and just like all of the factors that we've talked about today, what motivates you to continue creating patterns and content for social media?
I think that like I just really love it. Like I love
Mm.
making things. I love sewing and like I'm just so happy to be able to do it. And I also
Yeah.
really love video editing. Like I know I'm not that great at it, but like I really enjoy it and it's just fun and I like definitely I don't take it for granted for a second because I really was not happy at most of my legal jobs. Like
Mm.
I spent a long time in a lot of jobs that I really hated. So
Yeah. So once you find the one that you're like, I'm enjoying this, I like this, then yeah, you should stick to it.
yeah, it's really nice that I get to do this every day.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you would say no regrets?
Yeah, I mean, now there's no regrets. I mean, I don't know if that will change, but yeah, again, like that's the scary thing about it is like I don't really know exactly where this is going or if I'll be able to continue doing it, but I'm really enjoying it while it lasts.
That's great. Is there any advice that you would give to people that are seeking out like becoming a pattern maker or becoming a content creator? Anything that you would like recommend they do or don't do?
Um, I am not totally sure. I think that if you want to go like into content creation, like I think a lot of people are scared to do it because they think that it's oversaturated and everyone's doing it, which is true. Like there are a lot of people doing it, but I don't think that should be a deterrent because I think that everybody has something to offer and everybody has a unique perspective and is, has things to share with the world that other people will want to know about. And I think that if you're creating like good content, that people will notice and you'll do well. And I think that's kind of also tied to this other piece of advice I see out there a lot is like, just be consistent and keep posting and then you'll get there. And I don't necessarily think that is true. I think that you have to be very like cognizant and analytical about your content and like take a look at what does well and what doesn't do well. Because I think if you keep posting and not improving, you won't go anywhere. So like you could post every day and not go anywhere. But yeah, like at least that's what I do. But I think also I wanted to like touch on this too. I watched your episode with Sarah. I think that also though it does take like a certain amount of luck. Like I think there are so many content creators out there that make incredible content that have nowhere near the amount of views that they deserve. And I don't understand the algorithm and I wish I could say I did. And like all those courses that tell you that this is what you need to do to grow. Like I don't think anyone knows. And I just think, if you keep trying your best and, taking notes of what does well, what doesn't, and putting out quality content that you will get to where you want to at some point.
I 1,000% agree with you. I think that, like you said, like if you're consistent, but you're not trying to improve at all, like, yeah, you're probably not going to go anywhere. And I try to also be analytical about what I see working in the space, not necessarily just in like sewing or crochet or knitting. Like I try to think about what works in general, because at the end of the day, social media is filled with people and people gravitate towards specific things. Certain things catch our attention, catch our eye. And I think that sometimes people forget to focus on the human aspect of social media. Yeah. And I think that's super important. Like you have to consider, I'm trying to talk and reach people, not numbers on a screen, but social media, I think, has kind of caused us to think about these things a little bit differently. And yeah, I think if you have a particular like goal in mind, like I want to inspire people, then you're probably going to create content that's inspiring because you're going to be thinking in that frame of mind. So I think like choosing a frame of mind to focus on, or, I want to teach people like you're doing, that helps too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you for listening to the Stitched By podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, another one drops next month on July 17th. To be updated on upcoming guests and topics, visit stitchedbypodcast.com and find me on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at Stitched By Podcast. I want to thank my guest, Candice, for joining me on today's episode. Find Candice on Instagram at SoBigMake and on her website for her patterns at sobigmake.com and on Etsy at Staystitch Pattern Co. You can also find her on YouTube at So Big Make. I'm your host, Ari, at Stitched by Ari, signing off for now.